the July 2021 meeting of the Special Bombing Review Commission to order. I would like to begin by our invocation by Commissioner Gamble. If you would please stand for the invocation.
Thank you, Lord, for allowing us to gather here today. Please use us to do your will, to do our job in this service that we are here to do today. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. The Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Do I hear everybody should have an agenda in front of their chair? Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda for this meeting?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. You should all have received the minutes for the June 2021 meeting. It's been submitted to, I hear a motion that the minutes for the June 2021 meeting be approved as submitted. Motion been made. Second?
Second.
Motion seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. Let me go to item number 7. First of all, I want to welcome everybody here. All the commissioners. We have no guests apparently. Our counsel is here, but she's no guest, and we appreciate you being here. This is probably our most important meeting. We are beginning to get organized. We've got a chore in front of us. I've spent a considerable amount of time in the last month coming up and getting advice from various people, coming up with a potential agenda. I'm not going to say that this proposition is perfect, but if anybody has a better idea, I sure would like for you to share it. Now, what I've done is, first of all, I've given you the three basic working groups or committees, if you would, that we outlined. Last month, each one of you responded in writing to your preferences as to your skill sets, not necessarily what you'd be interested in, but as to your skill sets as to the committees. What I tried to do was I tried to give credence to your requested as to your skill sets and put you on a committee that really did reflect what you were good at and what you, not necessarily what you were interested in, but what you were good at. I think I've done that. Now, some people will be on 2 committees. Some people will only be on 1 committee. I will tell you in just a minute the various committees that you gave me the authority to choose. But let me explain about these committees. We've got the way that I envision our challenge is best described by Bob Mendez, the sponsor of the resolution that created this commission. The number 1 goal is to provide the public with assurance that the circumstances surrounding the bombing, its causes, the public and private reactions to it, and any lessons to be learned have been fully examined. Determine the full scope of the public interest in the causes, the reactions, and any lessons learned. Outside of the government, there were substantial telecom issues that are important to the public. Determine the scope of these existing reviews. If the commission were to decide that the ongoing reviews discussed in the first item are not adequate, then fill in the gaps. And then finally, report within 1 year from the time of our first meeting. Our first meeting was April of 2021. That means that although our first meeting was actually in March. Our first meeting that was publicly noticed was April. But what I would like to do and what I recommend is that we shoot for March of 2022 as to when we finally approve a lessons learned report to the Metro Council. That way, if it takes to April, then we're still within that 1-year time frame. But let's shoot for March of 2022. Now, the timeline is I would like to have a rough draft of the tentative report to the Lessons Learned Committee no later than November of 2021, and then for the Lessons Learned Committee to have the rough draft to present to the entire commission by December of 2021. Now, let me explain how I envision these three committees will work. The first committee, we'll call it the Criminal Investigations Committee. If you don't want to call it a committee, call it a working group. They're not going to make any decisions. The only decisions possibly they might make is somebody's after-action report not sufficient or not? That's not really a decision. That's pretty obvious to people. But what I would like to do is let's take the first committee, the Criminal Investigations Committee. The timeline for the Criminal Investigations Committee would be somewhere in the neighborhood of 2019, as Commissioner Gamble said in our last meeting, until they finalized the criminal investigation and came up with a suspect, came up with the causes, and came up with who all was involved. So that would be 2019 until sometime in 2021. Then they would explore all of those issues, and I've listed in your handout 1 through 14 all of those issues. That committee can add to those 14 issues if you want to. But these are some of the samples that Paul Summers came up with as to what they should be looking at, consistent with the resolution and consistent with Bob Mendez's recommendation, who was the proponent of the resolution. When, say, the TBI submits its after-action report to committee number 1, the Criminal Investigations Committee, and the committee reads that after-action report. If they decide that there are no gaps, that the TBI has completely given to us everything that they did, then they need to submit that after-action report to committee number 3. So that then committee number 3 would take a look at that after-action report, and committee number 3, the Lessons Learned Committee, then they could say, well, you know, committee number 1, I didn't think that the TBI quite answered the question about why did they go back to talk to that lady who first made the complaint only 3 times. Why didn't they go back and talk to her more? Maybe committee number 3 considers that to be a gap or a deficiency. Then it would be up to committee number 3 to go back and to fill in that gap. I don't care how they do it. They can send out a subcommittee to go talk to the TBI, or they can, but if they have to, ultimately, if for example, and I'm just using the TBI as an example, but let's just suppose the TBI says, well, that's all we're going to tell you. All right, that's all we know. That's all we're going to tell you. Well, if you need subpoena power, then committee number 3 can then come back to us, or committee number 1 could come back to us and come back to Investigator Quinn or to me, and if we had to investigate. I doubt that's going to happen, but let's just suppose. So basically, let's take committee number 1. When those after-action reports trickle in and they decide that there are no gaps, then they submit it to committee number 3, Committee number 3 starts working on their report, which is due in November of 2021. And then committee number 3, the Lessons Learned Committee, puts the TBI report into their final report. Now, the second committee, the Bombing and Response Committee, this is going to be, ladies and gentlemen, somewhere, as best I can figure, somewhere between, 15 to 20 different agencies, ranging from the fire department, ranging from various social agencies, ranging from the administrative office of the courts, for example, the telecom industry. There are going to be many, many, many more reports. I'm asking for that committee to do the same thing. When they, first of all, decide who the responders were. Second of all, see if there's an after-action report. If there's no after-action report, go out to that agency and say, hey, we need an after-action report. Then determine whether or not there are any gaps. Once they determine that an after-action report has no gaps, then submit it to committee number 3. So that way, committee number 1, committee number 2, committee number 3 are always working. Now, committee number 1, the bombing committee, they may finish before committee number 2 completes its work. What I would ask respectfully of the members of committee number 1, that when you finish your reports with no gaps and you've submitted everything to the Lessons Learned Committee, then I would ask you to help out, if you would, on committee number 2 to share the workload. Ultimately, what I would like to have is a rough draft of the after-action reports, all gaps filled, by November, and then we would prepare the rough draft for the December meeting, and then we can edit it, we can do whatever we want to, and then vote on it by January or February so we can submit it. Now, I know that there are probably other ways to do it, but that's the best I could come up with as to how to do it, to share the workload, everybody. It's going to be a lot of work. Now, what I've done is I've got a list of the committees. Now, there are 4 members of each committee. I'm an ex officio member of all the committees. All the committees, I'm an ex officio member. You're not going to take any votes. It's going to be all a consensus. You're not going to make any decisions, except maybe if there's a gap or something, but that's going to be patently obvious. But what I would like to do is give you this listing of the various committees. Now, I've got an asterisk. I have an asterisk next to each name. Now, all that means is that you are the tentative chairperson. I said tentative chairperson. That doesn't, when you get together in your caucus of your working group, then you can elect anyone you want as the chairperson. But I expect the chairperson to be the leader of that group. But by no representation am I saying this is the person you ought to pick. But I just picked, based on your comments that you made, I felt like it was appropriate. You got to have a leader somewhere. I know. I was going to make you chairperson of every one of them if you hadn't showed up.
I figured. That's happened to me before.
Now, see what committee you're on, and I will be happy to answer any questions that anybody has. Here, Chief. You want that? And the agenda and the And the description of each committee is there too, if you want, for the public or you. Any question?
Could you go over all that again?
I will after the meeting in private
On YouTube.
on YouTube, yeah. Well, anyway, question. Yes, ma'am, Commissioner.
I just want to say thank you, Chairman, for this very efficient list and very descriptive list of what our charge is today. This is very helpful. I appreciate you taking the time to outline this way for us, and also with the committee assignments. This is great. I just wanted to make that comment. Thank you.
There's not a but there?
No.
Oh, good.
No but.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Yes, sir, Chief.
Yes, Chairman, I want to make sure that I made that statement. I did not make it, not taking it serious. I just came in late, as everybody knows, but just for the public. So I do appreciate it too. I really appreciate everyone taking this very serious because, again, the committee was put together because there were some concerns, and we want to make sure that we're meeting the expectation of our citizens. So again, me making that comment was just me coming in late, but I appreciate all the hard work that everyone of you guys are doing. So thank you.
Thank you. This is a very diligent committee. Well, if there are no questions, then I've set out 4 chairs before y'all got here this morning. We'll call that committee number 1 over here, the Criminal Investigations Committee, number 1 over here to my left. And then committee number 2 will be the Bombing and Responsive Committee. And committee number 3 will be the Lessons Learned Committee over there where the chief is pulling that chair over there. Now, what I would ask is for you to get over there and caucus. I know y'all know what that means. And look at what your assignments are, and then elect a chairperson if you can today, but you might as well do it today because it's not going to get any easier tomorrow. But elect a chairperson, knowing that chairperson is the one that's going to have to organize your working group meetings, take the initiative on deciding, with your help, who the after-action response agencies are, and do all the work that we just outlined. So don't take it lightly, knowing that we've got to have a draft report by November of 2021. So, if there are no, yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry. Can I just make one statement for the record, which is that all of the things that are being passed out to the committee, I'm attaching as exhibits to the minutes, and those are going on the shared drive, which are available to the public, so the public will have access to the documents that the committee has been handed.
That's right. And I appreciate that. Any questions? No questions? Then committee number 1, committee number 2, and committee number 3 with the tentative chairperson leading the discussion. And hopefully out of that you will come back with having elected a chairperson, a permanent chairperson of your working group. And we can get down to business.
Okay, I'll wait on you. How's that?
Aren't you glad I didn't put you as chairman of all this?
How are you?
I'm all right. How you doing, man? Good to see you, old buddy.
I'm gonna go this way. What are you carrying around all that?
You know what, that thing gets bigger and bigger. I carry it with me everywhere I go.
So let's do here first.
I need to clean it out.
This is too.
the price and paper.
But other than that, they want to talk.
It was like that original price.
And I told him I couldn't do it, just because, with the state's influx of money, as years are going on,
I keep forgetting who's
crazy.
reading.
And I'll be up, like, so, I'm just
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, so it's not something
Right.
new that we need,
Yeah.
that we need to
Right.
implement, it's something that they're already doing, that just, that's what it does. So, we as the supervisor,
Right.
Well, of course, you have the group that's the architect, non-volatile case group, they're overseeing that. I don't know if he needs somebody from them or not. I mean, they probably have plenty of reports because they meet. Right, I mean, I've had friends to agree that specifically affected, you know, to live there, restrictions, that sort of thing. So anything, any questions we have for them. And I know they're working close to lines with those.
There wasn't a lot of other weirdness going on in my like thank you for it.
I just noticed that, so, I mean, yeah, I know it's, and so it's just.
and it might not
Yeah, for both of them.
right, that he would have just given it. So, it just would have been documented.
So as an investigator, I would say, not going back to the girlfriend and doing subsequent interviews with the girlfriend, that to me was a greater deficiency than, I mean, he can not answer the door, he can answer the door and say, get bent, slam the door. It's the girlfriend that should have been recontacted.
But again, it's not even a family member, she's only a little bit off.
I believe what she's saying.
Yeah.
I mean, it's.
And the point is that if this was a
Coordinating everything.
Children things that you know, when I meet trees, and I know like children things. When you have, we
Okay. It's my understanding that the three working groups or committees have decided on, number one, the Criminal Investigations Committee is Commissioner Martinez, and number two, the Bombing and Responses Committee is Commissioner or Captain Oliver, and number three, the Lessons Learned Committee is Commissioner Holland. Is that correct? Now, do I hear a motion that Commissioner Martinez be elected as the chairperson of the CIC, the Criminal Investigations Committee or Working Group? Do I hear such a motion? Do I hear a second? Who made the motion?
I didn't make somebody.
And second by Commissioner Sanderson. Right. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Thank you. Congratulations, Mr. Chairman. All right. On the Bombing and Responses Committee is Captain Oliver. Do I hear a motion that Captain Oliver
So moved.
be appointed as the chairperson of that working group? Second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Congratulations, Captain.
Thank you.
As to the Lessons Learned Committee, do I hear a motion that Commissioner Holland be the chairperson of that subcommittee or committee? Please, let me hear your motion.
So moved.
So moved by Sanderson.
Second.
Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Congratulations, Commissioner Holland. What I would respectfully request to you, chairpersons of your committees, to every meeting that we have beginning in August, to have a progress report from your committee of those after-action reports that have been submitted, those after-action reports where you've seen gaps and you're in the process of filling those gaps, and those after-action reports that you have deemed to be complete and that are sent to the Lessons Learned Committee. And then we'll do that every month. Well, basically, we'll have committee reports by the chairperson of those committees, and hopefully, surely, by November, we'll have all of the reports in with all the gaps filled. Remember, the Lessons Learned Committee will get the second bite at the gap apple, because that's a different set of eyes on the first two committees. They can always call, if any of the committees, whether it's committee number 1 or 2 or 3, has to have any help from the board, from us in leadership, please let us know. Pick up the telephone, email us. That is Vice Chair Holland and Investigator Quinn and me. Let us know if you need any help. We'll be glad to send an invitation, or if necessary, we'll go through our legal counsel and subpoena that person. I doubt very seriously if we're going to have any problems, but know that we're there if you run into a jam. Are there any questions? Is there any? Yes, sir.
I was just learning, talking with Commissioner Gamble, what is the status of our action AAR receipt?
Maybe that can be answered. Mr. Fire Chief, the question is, what is the status of our after-action report receipts thus far?
I think it was brought to my attention that we do have, I think it was 4 that still haven't sent their after-action review. So I was asked to get the contact person from each one of those agencies, and there will be a letter sent to them, and then I will make contact myself personally just to let them know, to be advised that the committee will be requesting their after-action review. So I have that list emailed to me, and I think it's 4
that have not sent it. So we're batting probably about I guess 90% of everything should be in is in, but I will reach out today to those agencies, and I will also forward the contact person to the committee.
Of these 4, how many of them are in the Criminal Investigation Committee, or how many are in the Bombing and Response?
I think the critical roles played by the 4, I think, the ones that have not sent in are very critical. I think they're more of our federal partners and outside of the infrastructure of Metro, but like ATF, FBI, Homeland Security, and I think it's one other. I'm sorry, I don't have that list in front of me, but they're critical partners, and I'm sure they'll be more happy to cooperate, but we'll just give them a reminder. Noah, you'll send a letter out, and then I'll make a phone call.
Here's my, yes, yeah, Commissioner.
Yes, Chief, has a request already been sent to those agencies, so this is not the first request?
Yes, all agencies have been. As a matter of fact, that you have the timeline. I think every one of them have sent in their timeline of events that's happened. So for them at this point in the junction, they should be very well complete, I'm sure. And it may be that these, and I'm not making any excuses for them, they can speak for their own behalf, but because they are very critical to this operation, and when we talk about bombing, it may take them a little bit more time because they're very, I think, Cindy had mentioned there are certain agencies, their information may not be able to be just put out publicly as easy as others. So they may be trying to make sure that what they're putting out doesn't jeopardize the mission of their agency. So
I guess our decision, the decision I need to make is who is the OPR, the Officer of Primary Responsibility, to reach out to all of these after-action agencies, and you listed about 4.
yeah, I think
And
there's 4.
Most of them seem to be in the criminal investigations area.
Absolutely.
Should that be you, or should that be this committee, or who?
Well, I think it'd be a joint effort. As I stated earlier, there's going to be a letter sent out. Once I get the contact person, the officer in charge, I'll send that to the committee. And then there will be a letter from this committee sent to the individual agencies. But because, again, we've got great relationships with everyone on this that's involved with this event, I will personally make a call myself to make sure that if they have be aware of the letters coming. But I anticipate them being very cooperative. Again, I just think without knowing, and I'm not going to use the word assume, I'm sure, though, that they are aware of it. They've already put their timeline together. But again, it may be just a little bit more difficult for them just because of the sensitivity of the subject matter and what they do. They may have to look at it a little differently. But I will make that contact today, and then I will also send a contact person to the committee as well.
And you've got our committees, and you've got the chairperson of each committee right now?
I'm sure that will be emailed to me because in the event of showing what the committee looks like, I did not gather that in writing, but I'm sure it'll be emailed to me. I appreciate that.
Well, if I could say, any reports that come back in to any of the committees, if they could also be sent to me so that I can upload them into the shared, I'm going to send, after this meeting, I'm going to send links to the mayor's page for the Special Bombing Review Commission, as well as another link to the shared drive so that everybody's got those on top of their email list. But for instance, like the FBI timeline that's in there is a Word document with no header. I mean, it's not official, so it doesn't look like it comes from them. It doesn't have FBI anywhere on it. So
Absolutely.
what we need back from these agencies is some sort of official PDF document, with their letterhead, officially from them,
Right.
I think.
And that's noted and understood. And again, I'll make that phone call afterwards, and then I'll give you their contact person. But I just think that's probably what it is. I think they're probably just trying to make sure that the information they put out in the The after action report is something that can be viewed, and it's it's open record. They're going to be very transparent as they can be, I'm sure. But we got great relationships with them, so I don't anticipate it being an issue.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have an issue about the August meeting that we need to solve right now. Have you gotten any response, Cindy, back from your people? Right now, the August meeting is set for what Tuesday?
Yes, so our meetings are all set for the final Tuesday of the month, which August is one of those months that has 5 Tuesdays. And I think it sounds like there was a little confusion, and so the TBI had been invited to appear on August 24th.
The fourth Tuesday.
The fourth Tuesday of the month. So at this point, I am requesting information about whether this room's available on the 24th as opposed to the 31st, so we don't have to reschedule the TBI. So once I find that information, I will let Secretary Quinn know, and she'll let everyone know about whether we're going to meet on the 24th or the 31st.
Will the 24th or the 31st be a problem with anyone?
I'm currently looking at my schedule, and the 24th would be a conflict for me on that day. Well, never mind. It's actually this meeting. Never mind.
Yeah, the calendar invite went out on the 24th, so I think everybody's probably responded in the affirmative on. So if we can get it on the 24th, that would be optimal.
Yeah.
If we can't, I'll contact the TBI, and if they have a conflict, we'll have to push them to the September.
Right now, the presumption is it's the 31st. However, if there is if we can do it on the 24th, we will do it, and Cindy will let us know if we can or not.
Yes, and also it's my understanding that the committees may want to meet the hour prior to the main commission meeting, so we will also look at room availability for the hour before and make sure that's all properly noticed as well for the public.
All right. Is that okay with you,
It's actually
Captain?
this meeting.
Huh?
I just look at the calendar and I look for the time, and then I looked into it a little more, and it's actually this meeting.
Oh, okay. All right.
It is fine.
All right. So we'll hear from Cindy. She'll communicate with Investigator Quinn, and we appreciate everybody. Now, bear in mind, I usually like to just have us for an hour, but we've had committee meetings. You were on your own time on that. You weren't on Paul Summers' time. Do I have any objection to our adjournment? Then, ladies and gentlemen, we are adjourned until the August 2021 meeting, which will either be on the 31st or the 24th. We'll let you know. Thank you.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.